Hello and welcome to your Chapter 3 video lecture where we are going to discuss energy, chemical reactions, and cellular respiration. All living organisms are going to require energy, and that is so that they can have a way to power muscle, pump blood, absorb nutrients, exchange respiratory gases, synthesize new molecules, and establish cellular ion concentrations. When glucose is broken down through metabolic pathways, we can get energy. We form ATP, and that is our energy currency of our cells. So we'll start off with section 3.1 on energy. First, we need to discuss our classes of energy. Energy is our capacity to do work, and our two classes are potential energy, which is stored energy or energy of position. And when that energy is put into motion, then we get kinetic energy. And here's the ball dropping. This is kinetic energy in there here. And both can be converted from one class to another. Let's first talk about potential energy and the plasma membrane. We have within our plasma membrane here, so just to orientate yourself, we have this phospholipid bilayer over here, and this is just a protein channel that is allowing ions to move into the cell, specifically our sodium ions into the cell. So we see that there's a concentration gradient that is existing across this plasma. We have more sodium ions outside of the cell than we do inside the cell. We can also take a look at the potential energy and electron shells. Our electrons are moving from a higher to a lower energy shell. So this would be taking place in a chemical reaction in which maybe these atoms are rearranging themselves, and that's why we're seeing the changes of these electrons within their shells. And as we are moving from this high energy shell that has potential energy, that movement to maybe some lower energy shells would then turn into kinetic energy. And kinetic energy can be harnessed to do work. And this movement of electrons is critical to the formation of ATP molecules. And now to a different form of energy, chemical energy. This is going to be a form of potential energy. We know that energy is stored in a molecule's chemical bonds, and it is released when they are broken. This type of chemical energy is present in all chemical bonds, and molecules that function in chemical energy storage would be things like triglycerides, glucose, and of course ATP. We could see those high energy bonds within the phosphates that are attached. And as we break off a phosphate, energy is going to be released, making this molecule now ADP, or adenosine diphosphate. When I break off one more phosphate bond, then it becomes adenosine monophosphate, mono meaning we only have one phosphate attached. And some forms of kinetic energy would be like electrical energy, where we have the movement of charged particles across the plasma membrane. Mechanical energy is also kinetic energy. This is exhibited by objects in motion due to an applied force. For example, our muscle contraction for when we are walking. There's also sound energy. This is molecule compression caused by a vibrating object. So sound waves causing a vibration of the eardrum in our ear would be an example. We also have radiant energy. This is the energy of the electromagnetic waves, and an example would be the visible light striking our retina within our eye. And lastly, we have heat. This is energy of electromagnetic waves once again, and it's usually not available to do work though, and it's measured as temperature of an object. And here's our electromagnetic spectrum. You can see that we have different forms of radiant energy represented on the spectrum, and also the forms of energy are arranged from the shortest wavelength to longest wavelength. And also it is arranged in the highest frequency to the lowest frequency. Now let's take a look at the laws of thermodynamics. Thermodynamics is the study of energy transformations, and that first law tells us that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only change form. And our second law is when energy is transformed, some energy is unfortunately lost as heat. This causes the amount of usable energy to be decreased. And the example would be moving around to warm up on a cold day. And as a chemical energy is converting to mechanical energy, heat is produced.